Whenever people ask me where to get started with Korean literature, I often find myself recommending the same titles over and over again. So here are five titles that I think are great starting points if you want to delve into Korean literature. The first book is Please Look After Mom by Kyung-sook, translated by Cheon. It follows what happens when an elderly woman is separated from her husband in a Seoul subway station and gets lost. The family desperately tries to find her, and as they do, they think about their own relationships with her. The perspective shifts from the eldest daughter, the eldest son, the husband, and the mother herself. One thing that I really love about this novel is that it's almost entirely in the second person narrative, and it works so well. There's so much intimacy and intensity in this novel because of that. It's like we're directly being spoken to, and many people have said that this novel felt like a nudge to reflect on, their own relationships with their mothers. On the surface, this book is about everything that mothers do, their sacrifice, their love that is often taken for granted. But the one thing that really fascinated me was this idea of a chameleonic identity of mothers, where the mother basically is forced to fit whatever perspective or frame that each person has of her, whether as a mother or a wife or simply a woman. And depending on each perspective, the mother's true identity, who she truly is, becomes lost and unknown to the person seeing her. It's also why the second person narrative works so well, because it portrays the tunnel vision we have on our mothers, and it makes the realization that a mother is a whole person, that she's not just a mother, much more impactful. So it is obvious why this book won the Man Asia Literary Prize in 2011. Honestly, this was one of the first breakout novels from Korea, so this is a must. Next, we have The Vegetarian by Kang, translated by Deborah Smith. It won the International Booker Prize in 2016. The story starts off with this woman deciding to be a vegetarian, and soon an intense and surreal family drama erupts from all sides. As a fan of Haruki Murakami and surrealism in general, this book was a treat to me. I highly recommend it to anyone who's looking for something weird to read. There's a bit of sexual violence in this as well, so there's your warning. But overall, it is a fantastic work that delves into the themes of desire, identity, societal repression, and more. My favorite thing about The Vegetarian is that it looks at the idea of how people deal with the inexplicable. Not everything in the world is something that is within our control or is something that can be explained away logically. In the book, the main character is irrationally vegetarian, and the family members try to figure out what's happening with her. They all react to it in different ways. One tries to run from it, another tries to endure it, another tries to exploit it. And at the same time, it is a very effective critique at social pressures, because how do we deal with people who seem to go against the conventionally established norms? And the perspective that Kang offers is weird, but very poignant. Kang is a must-read author when it comes to Korean literature, and this book is a great introduction to her writing style and themes. The third book is Almond by Won-pyung, translated by Sandy Joosun Lee. The book is about Yoon-jae, a teenager with a condition of having an abnormally small amygdala, which makes him unable to feel emotions like fear or anger, a condition otherwise known as alexithymia. Just as an added context, the amygdala is almond-shaped. It's also Latin for almond, as many medical terms are Latin-based, hence the title Almond. Almond starts off with a tragedy. Yoon-jae's mother and grandmother become victims of a 묻지마 violence. 묻지마 literally translates to don't ask, which roughly means random violence. Yoon-jae, at 15, is left to fend for himself, but Yoon-jae's life gets turned even more upside down when he meets Kwon, a troubled youngster whose life gets messily entangled with Yoon-jae's. Gon creates this really powerful contrast with Yunjae. They're literally at the opposite ends of the emotional spectrum. Gon is feeling too much while Yunjae is barely feeling anything. And their friendship is what heals each other. In that sense, there's this really sharp commentary on apathy, how our society as a whole is rampant with apathy. And there are so many moments in this book where Yunjae, the one who's not supposed to feel emotions, is so much more empathetic than normal people. Which shows that it's not Yunjae who's this monster that other people in the book makes him out to be, but in fact, the monster is everyone else who hide their apathy under the guise of normality and justify their apathy with their prejudice. I mean, this is exactly how it is for Gon. Everyone thinks Gon is this troublemaker who can't be saved, and that prejudice strengthens people's apathy toward him. And Yunjae is the only person who manages to truly touch Gon's heart in a meaningful way. And that message of love, that message of taking action to overcome apathy just resonates so strongly. I totally understand why Namjoon from BTS recommends this book. The fourth book is My Brilliant Life by Kim Eran, translated by Kim Ji-young. This book is about a boy named Adam who has a condition called progeria that causes him to age very quickly. So our protagonist Adam is 16, but because of his condition, he is close to being 80 physically. His young parents, who had him when they were only teenagers, try to give Adam the best life he can have despite this condition. While the novel takes on this relatively light tone, there's this persistent sadness as well as anxiety that time is running out for Adam. He constantly has to deal with how volatile his existence is, and it's such a struggle, but there are these everyday moments that deliver humor and joy, and that is what makes this book so amazing. It's painful and heartbreaking, yet it also somehow feels warm. It manages to balance these emotions so meticulously that you get into this state where you are simultaneously happy and sad for Adam. And it's so classically Korean that a book makes you cry and laugh at the same time. It reads so easily, but you feel with each page how heavy your heart gets. I finished this book on the plane and I had to turn my face to the window afterwards because I was crying so much for so long. So highly recommend this book. Lastly, we have Whale by Myung-kwan, also translated by Kim Ji-young. This is like the third one. I might as well call this list the, best books from Kim Ji-young or something. Anyways, it was shortlisted for the International Booker Prize in 2023. I am holding the Korean edition, which was first published back in 2004. The story follows Kyung-sook and her daughter Chuni in a place called Pyeongdae, and it is a quintessential magic realism novel from Korea, reminiscent of 100 Years of Solitude. It's an amazing book that's worth reading for its unique storytelling. The book touches on a number of ideas and themes, but there are two that I particularly like. One is its commentary on the destructive nature of ambition, as in how the manifestation of our desires, our aspirations, can be our own undoing. And paired with that is the second idea, which is that your story can be your way of survival, of lasting through the ages. The characters in this novel all struggle to survive, to leave something behind, to be something that will be remembered, just like Kyung-sook, who has these grand ambitions. But in the end, what's only left are these stories, these vignettes of their lives that the writer has collected together into Whale. Myung-kwan has said that stories leap through time to give everlasting life, and that idea is clearly reflected in this book. These 5 must-read Korean novels are a fantastic introduction to Korean literature, each offering a different glimpse into the themes and narratives that define this vibrant literary tradition. So if you want to get into Korean literature, I'd say this is where you start.